Hi everyone, I'm Lily and today I'll be talking about Duolingo English test. So when I took this test, I got 145 out of 160. So today I want to share with you guys tips and tricks of taking this test. So Duolingo test is English proficiency test, just like TOEFL or IELTS. The cost of the test, it's pretty cheap compared to IELTS or TOEFL. A Duolingo English test costs only $49 compared to TOEFL IBT Home Edition, which costs like $210. I feel like Duolingo test is much easier compared to TOEFL. And also the duration of the test for Duolingo, it's only about an hour compared to TOEFL, which is about 3 hours. And also the time to receive tests is also much quicker. So for Duolingo English test, you receive your score in like 48 hours, within 48 hours. But for TOEFL, you have to wait like 6 to 10 days. So I think it's pretty convenient and it's a good choice to take Duolingo English test. So firstly, I'll be talking about the test setup and the logistics. So on the test day, they tell you to download this desktop app on your desktop and to take the test. The downloading didn't even take that long, probably just like not even 5 minutes for me. And then on the test day, you also need your ID or passport to confirm your identity. And all you need is a built-in microphone, a keyboard, and a good camera, and you're good to go. And a quiet room for about 1 hour, and like don't let anyone come in because that can make your test invalid. And you don't need any paper or any notes since you're not allowed to take notes anyway. And they have some rules, such as not covering your ears with hair, or just don't look suspicious, like don't go out of the frame, or don't look left or right, up or down, because they might think you're doing something suspicious. And let's talk about my experience. So how long I took to prepare for the test. So actually I planned it to prepare for like 3 weeks. I planned it ahead, but it never really happened until like last 5 days, where because I keep procrastinating, So I just started to grind in like last 5 days. So I just practiced every day consistently for the last 5 days, and I just took the test. So I would like to share a few tips and tricks from my experience. The most challenging part was fill in the blank, which was really surprising because when I did the practice test on the Duolingo website, the 15-minute practice test, the fill in the blank was like one of the easiest questions because I can guess right away what to fill. But in the test, it was really hard. I got like a politics question one time, and another was I forgot, but I kind of missed I left some blanks, but I ended up with a pretty decent score, so I'm kind of surprised. And another thing that was challenging for me was tell you to write at least one sentence in 1 minute. It was challenging at first, but I just get through it, so I'll talk about that later in the video. Easy ones are choosing the real English word, like listen and choose, or read and choose. Those are pretty easy for me. And also the read aloud, like they give you a sentence, you read aloud, or a sentence dictation, a sentence, and you just type down what you hear. So those are pretty easy for me. I will be talking about tips and tricks that I use to take this test. So first, I want to talk about read and choose real English word. So this is a pretty basic one, pretty straightforward. So the tips I have is just don't guess. Sometimes they give you a word that like confuses you on purpose. So just if you're not feeling 100% sure that if it's right or wrong, just don't choose it. Just don't guess, because most of the time like you're gonna get it wrong. But that's from my experience. So they really try to trick you by like changing, giving you wrong forms of verb tenses. For example, cut, past tense is cut, present tense is cut. So they will, put CUTED, and that will make you think it's a past tense and just choose. But yeah, that's just how they try to trick you. But I think it's pretty obvious and you can differentiate it. And for listen and choose, I suggest that you listen more than once, because you have like around 3 minutes. And when I practice and when I take the real test, it was more than enough for me to listen more than once for every word. So I suggest, even if you're sure, just listen more than once to just make sure. And then the same tips with the read and choose. Just don't guess. If you're not feeling sure, just don't choose that word. As for the fill in the blank, which I mentioned earlier, I kind of messed up a little in my exam. But yeah, for me, what I did was I first read everything first, because the passage is usually around 100 words. So I just try to get the context. When I read it, I get what's going on. Like, is this essay about like beach or having family trip, or is it taking place in a court or something like that? So I have a pretty brief idea about it. And then what I would do next is I'll find clue in the first and the last sentence, because usually the first and the last sentence are full sentences, so you can find some clues, some words that relates to the question that they gave you. And also look out for tenses and form. For example, woman and woman, WOMAN and WOMEN, singular and plural form. So you have to choose the word that go according with that, whether it's woman or singular or plural forms. And then I would suggest, this is what I did in the test, because I kind of ran out of time and I didn't know what it was anymore. So I just I was completely blank. I couldn't guess anymore what the word is. So I just put like vowels, A and E in the blank, because most words are usually made up of vowels. So I'm sure, I think even though I didn't get the word, I'm sure I got 1 or 2 blank correct, because it has vowel in it. So I suggest you to put A or E or I if you have no idea anymore and you're running out of time. So the next one I'll be talking about is write at least one sentence in 1 minute, right? So the instructions said write at least one sentence, but to guarantee good score, I suggest you to write about 3 sentences, because when I look at the videos from other YouTube channels who talk about Duolingo and stuff, they suggest to write 3 sentences, and that's what I did. And I think that's also why I was able to get that score. And then so I also suggest that you leave 10 or 15 seconds to proofread, because you never know what you type wrong or what small error you make. If you just use up 1 minute and you just found out, you made mistake, but you don't have time to correct anymore. And then for spell out the sentence, where they give a sentence to you and you have to spell it out, I first suggest that you read it in your mind first. Just get familiar with the words in your mind first, and then only after that you read it out loud. That way, you'll be fluent when you read it, and then you're less prone to making mistakes when you read it. As for sentence dictation, one thing I'll suggest would be writing numbers and symbol and spell it out, instead of just writing 2 like this, just spell it out TWO, or percent symbol. And so spell out PERCENT instead of just writing percent symbol. And then I also want to stress on comma rules. especially the fanboys, putting commas, in front of fanboys, and just series listing. So that's what I would suggest you focus on. And as for the next question, that was one of the challenging question for me too. Speaking question where you have to talk for 90 seconds. And at first when I was studying for this test, because I ran out of words to say, like I have time left, I don't know what to say anymore, and I was like so awkward. But yeah, I just learned that there are some tips and tricks that can make your response longer. And so what I would suggest is, for me, before I took this exam, I practiced with four or five practice questions, sample questions, and I think that's a good amount. And to make your answer or response longer, there are 3 ways. Firstly, you can elaborate on your answer, like give more details. And secondly, you can give your opinion, how you feel about that certain topics. That way you can make it longer, as long as you want. And thirdly, you can give example scenario. Whether you have really experienced that or not, you can even come up with an example, because they won't know that you're lying and they won't care that you're lying. They just want to test your English fluency and your English skills. So yeah, just come up with something if you run out of ideas. And then, and one important thing is answer in the tense that they ask. Sometimes there's one set of questions, but they're like 3 mini questions, right? But they tend to ask in different tenses. So just make sure to answer in the tense that they ask. And then another question would be writing response for at least 50 words. For that one, I would suggest you to write over 100 for a good score, because for me, I wrote about 110 words. So yeah, I think it's pretty easy to write over 100 words in the given amount of time. I think with more practicing, you will type faster and learn to think faster. So just practice before the exam. Just practice with 4 or 5 sample questions, and you're good to go. And for the last one, video interview, which does not affect your grade, and it's just that they will send those interviews to the institution that you're sending the scores to, so they will get a better idea of where your English skills is. Both for speaking and writing, you will have a choice to choose one topic out of the 2 topics that they give. I have some general tips that I think it'll be useful. At least it was useful for me when I took the test. So I suggest that for me, my brain get stressed out easily. So when I take the test, it was already heating. So I suggest that for the listen and choose the real English word, you are given 3 minutes, but people usually finish earlier. They can finish that within 2 minutes, so you have 1 minute left. Just don't click next and go to the next question, but just try to give your brain a break, so then you're ready to take next question. So I think that was how I didn't burn myself out. So I think that's a pretty useful tips. And if you are if you have slow typing speed, I suggest you to practice typing every day, or just schedule a time and practice it. And most importantly, don't stress out, because the test is pretty easy, and even if you don't get the score that you wanted, you can always retake the test again. So yeah, that's it, and thank you so much for just watching my video. And if you want more of these contents, like and subscribe to my channel. Have a good day.